And now,
it's 10 a.m.
Let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
The brothers Gibb, Ben. Jake and Ben, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Wow, I'm so happy I missed Jaden Daniels' injury last night.
I have not seen the video. Is there a bad video of it?
Yeah.
I read about it, and I'm happy I missed it.
It's not quite Taylor Hendricks gruesome. I mean, he dislocated his elbow, so obviously it was very bad. But I didn't see, is there a video of it
it's
flopping
gruesome.
around?
It's not gory. Like, bone doesn't break skin,
sure,
right? But, I mean, it's very clear.
His arm's going the wrong way.
His
close
arm,
up. I mean, he plants his hand in the ground, and his arm just bends the complete opposite.
I didn't see it. I don't want to see it.
I'm not the person who needs to see that stuff. I know there are people like... Well, I don't want to throw Hans under the bus. I don't know if he's into the videos, but have you ever heard Hans describe what happens with an injury?
No. Well,
it's very detailed and very specific. It's obvious he's interested in it, which is not a shock from a professional athlete whose body was his instrument.
Yep.
But I'm not that type who needs to hear about which ligaments stretched, and certainly not the type that needs to see it. So, Anywho, glad I missed that. How are you, Ben? How was the weekend? Halloween go well?
Busy. Fun Halloween. One trick-or-treater. It was great.
Yeah, you and Christian were both saying you got very little attention from the trick-or-treaters.
Went to the Costco and got the big bag, and we were debating, like, there's the chocolate bag. They're about the same price. Chocolate bag has better candy, but there's less. And then there's like the gummy bag that has more candy, and I thought, okay, maybe on the chance that we get a lot of people coming, we'll get the bag that has more candy. And one 5-year-old came, and she took gummy bears and Lifesavers, and that was all she took.
Well,
so I've got a huge bowl of candy for next year.
That's nice.
The nerds are going to be rough next year.
Crunchy. They're going to be crunchy. Well, okay.
You guys, the family work out well?
Oh yeah, we had a great time.
Good.
We went trick or treating with another family, and you know what the hot topic was, and this just goes to show that sometimes I doubt like what I'm really interested in. Am I abnormal? Because I can't get enough of this Chauncey Billups story.
Sure.
And that's what we talked about the whole trick or treat. We were absolutely going down the rabbit hole together, talking about the mob, like all this stuff that catches my attention is all wrapped up into one story.
I kind of think Chauncey's going to get off scot-free on the fixing games aspect, not to start the
No. We'll talk football, but yeah.
I think that's going to be really hard to prove that tanking is illegal.
I know. I agree with that. But the poker stuff.
The poker stuff, not good.
And
he's going to go down for the poker stuff.
Honestly, whether you're taking or not, dishing inside information to other people involved, I don't know. I kind of think they're going to roll all these guys.
They might. Yeah, they might.
I think that's the idea. I think they're going to roll all these dudes.
Yeah, and make it grow.
Like who was the bozo who came dancing at Gilbert Arenas?
Gilbert, yeah.
Going to roll. We'll see what goes.
Yep.
All right, Ben, we'll start off with football. Can't wait to talk Jazz. We'll get to that coming up in the top 3 stories at KSLSports.com. And we will talk about the Utes, but I got to tell you, I was very divided over the weekend. I never want Raiders fans of Texas Tech ever to feel any bit of happiness. Mm-hmm. So I really was pulling for Kansas State.
Uh-huh.
But them winning did set up the better game. So the radio personality in me knew that it was better that Texas Tech win. But personally, me, who doesn't like any of those Raiders fans, I was hoping they lose.
This is one of the biggest weeks of BYU college athletics in some time. A.J. Dybantsa makes his debut tonight. We will talk about that more, I'm sure, top 3 stories. And then, you have a matchup of, what's Texas Tech rated right now? Are they top 10? These are both, 8 and 9? So you got a top 10 matchup BYU's playing. And the truth is, I think these two teams are going to face each other once again in the Big 12 title game, regardless of what happens. I think this is a preview of what we're going to see again a month from now. But this is an awesome game, 10 a.m., ABC, top 10 matchup. This is everything you wanted when you were trying to get out of independence and what you were trying to build up for. It's what Texas Tech has spent millions and millions of dollars on. It's what BYU has spent millions and millions of dollars on, was exactly for this game and this type of exposure. So I'm very excited for that. And yeah, Texas Tech remains very good. I mean, these teams I think are clearly the best two teams in the Big 12, with all due respect to your Cincinnati Bearcats, who you were riding high on until they absolutely looked like the phonies that we thought they were, or at least I thought they were. Against Utah. But,
phonies, that's strong.
Well, we'd gone through their entire schedule. They hadn't beaten anybody. Their one win was against Ohio State or Iowa State, who lost to Arizona State with Sims as their quarterback, who couldn't move the ball at all against Utah.
Who else lost to Arizona State?
Texas Tech.
Yeah,
Not good.
happened.
At least they had Sam Leavitt.
Yeah.
At least they had their star quarterback at the time. So, I still think the Big 12 stinks. I think the Big 12 is, like I said, far closer to the ACC than it is the Big 10 or the SEC, if not right on par with. And B, yeah, I think there are 3 good teams in the Big 12 total. I think 2 of them are playing each other this weekend.
I think I'm still going to vote Cincinnati number 1.
You should. Yeah, you ought to. You really ought to.
I think the Bearcats really got shafted. I think I still might.
Sorsby, he had it. Yeah, man. He really had it.
Still might put them at number 1. Why are you so annoyed?
Because the Big 12 stinks, and we knew Cincinnati stunk, and I knew this is what Cincinnati was going to come out and do, and we knew they were going to get rolled by Utah, and we knew they weren't going to be able to play on the road. We knew Utah's really good at home. We know all the turnover stuff that they had, the 20 touchdowns, 1 interception was going to fall apart, and it did. It's just it was a predictable game, and awesome for Utah. Utah played awesome. Utah is legitimately a top 17 team in the country where their ranking is right now. I think they are that good. I think they played their... They can't beat the 2 teams in front of them, rightfully so. Those teams are both better than Utah. The better team won in both of those games, Texas Tech and BYU. But I just think the rest of the Big 12 outside of those 3 teams is just it's not hardly worth talking about. These teams are so mediocre. And Cincinnati was a front runner, and the other front runner was Houston. And Houston lost to West Virginia,
which is crazy.
They got crushed by West Virginia,
which is on them. I mean, that's terrible. I got to say, my read from the game, and in all honesty, jokes about the Bearcats aside, I thought the game was way more about Utah than it was about Cincinnati. I don't know. Maybe Cincinnati is terrible. I honestly, they still get my number 1 vote, but we'll see. I think Sorsby is a good player, and he looked terrible.
11 of 33.
And I think that had a lot to do with Utah. Yeah. I think that had a lot to do with the defense. I think that had a lot to do with the scheme. And I think it had a lot to do with the position that Utah's offense, when it works, puts the other team in. And, I saw some stat out there that this Utah team has scored more than 40 points, more than any other WIT team since, I don't know.
I think it's I think it's any WIT team, right? Isn't it since...
I thought it was since I don't know.
I don't know.
I can look it up.
Urban Meyer's year.
Yeah.
Second year.
Whatever. It's been a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the way that they beat teams, because they just... what do they call those type of snakes? The constrictor.
The boa constrictor.
The constrictor family.
Yeah.
I mean, the offense, when it starts to roll over you, really... And honestly, this was my big question going into the season with the new offense, was will it complement the defense? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
It really does. And you looked at what was the first drive, Ben? Hold on, I should have had this up. But it was something stupid like, here it is, 16 plays, 94 yards, it took 7 minutes.
A great punt from Cincinnati after a terrible opening drive, 3 plays, 6 yards. They punt, they pin Utah at the 6, and then, Utah just marches the ball down their throat over and over and over.
And just took all of the air out of Cincinnati.
One throw to open the game, right?
Yeah.
The 120-yard pass.
They just rolled over them, and then Cincinnati responded, and it's like that first kick when the snake gets around you. Uh-huh. It's like, okay, I could still do this, and then Utah came back, and it was
I could take one big breath.
Yeah, and it was a less thorough drive, 7 plays, 75 yards. Utah responds in 3 minutes, and all of a sudden, Cincinnati's like, oh, all that air is out again, and then they answer with a missed field goal. The guy first missed field goal since Clinton was in office, and then let the strangle begin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And the way that Utah plays, you're just not going to get back in that game, even if you have I'm not going to say that Sorsby's going to be all conference because I don't think he is, but you have an experienced, good quarterback who doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and then all of a sudden they're scrambling and chasing it, and then the mistakes come. I mean, what game was it where I said this is the recipe for how Kyle wins football games or would want to win football games? Was that last week or was it Arizona State? I can't remember.
I think it was Colorado. But maybe it was
Colorado.
State.
It was Colorado. Throw this into it too.
Uh-huh.
And Devin Dampier is a really good option quarterback. And he is good enough to make throws when the other team has to sell everything out to not get run over. He's good enough to do that. And he's very effective when put in that situation.
He is. When he can play his game, he's extraordinarily
really
effective.
Yep.
When you play a Texas Tech or a BYU that can challenge him to not play his game, his efficiency and effectiveness drops dramatically. And that's the issue. And the interception was as bad an interception as you can throw. Now, it didn't matter at that point in the game. It felt like maybe Cincinnati could get back into it. They didn't. But, yeah, that's the strength and the weakness of Devin Dampier.
So when the what's something that a python in the Everglades would prey on? When the python...
Yeah, stork or whatever. I don't know.
A coyote, even though they don't live
work
there.
it out. Let's see what he comes up with.
But when the python gets hold of the coyote,
Okay.
like the coyote's still pretty tough. That's a pretty tough animal.
Sure.
But after the python starts to squeeze, it's over for that coyote.
It doesn't
you know
die
what I mean?
on the first punch. But after 15 minutes, you think that was a really lopsided fight.
No, the way to beat Utah is to keep the python at an arm's length.
Yeah, as far away as possible.
And that's great for them. And you know what? Shout out to Jason Beck for figuring out a way to meld with Coach Witt and Morgan Scalley and really make it work. I thought that was a big question going into the season. And they figured it out, and that's good.
I'm glad you brought up Witt because he's the head coach of the team. I felt so strongly after this game that Kyle Whittingham is coming back next year after watching that game because this is what Kyle wants. And he has a team that can do what he wants. And I don't think he's liked losing 3 straight to BYU. I don't think that he has yet competed. We'll see. There's still a couple of weeks left. Maybe there's some shenanigans. And Utah, like they did their last Rose Bowl appearance, backs their way into the Big 12 title game. Maybe it happens. I'm not betting on it. But I think Witt wants to go to a championship game. I think Witt wants to beat BYU one last time. And I think he can convince himself now, looking at a team that has an offensive coordinator that knows how to put up 40 points, a defense that has improved throughout the year, that he can come back one more season. And I felt it very, very strongly after that game that this feels like we're cooking.
Yeah.
Why would I leave? We're cooking.
I think it might be a little. I don't know anything, by the way. I'm speculating here. I think it might be a tad more complicated this year than what Witt wants to do.
But how can you argue with this if you're anybody on the outside looking at Witt being like, hey, man, is this going to get better? Are we topped out?
I know.
Are you slowly getting worse?
Yeah.
Those are the questions that will surround him.
If I were advising Kyle, I'd actually talk about how this year is actually the perfect season for you to go
Step
out
right,
on. But
yeah.
we can. I think that, man, when you saw the graphic, how many years is it that Morgan Scalley's been the defensive coordinator now? When
Long
you saw
time,
that graphic pop up, whatever it is, 9 years or whatever it is. Guy's been really patient.
Yes.
There are some bananas jobs that are available in this offseason.
4 SEC jobs already.
There's going to be leverage all over the place for good coaches. And not that I'm not saying that Morgan would go, Brutus.
Sure.
Or anything like that. But I think last year, Witt's opinion on whether to return or not, I think that was the deciding factor. I think there are other things at play now. And you if you're Kyle, you go, okay, you didn't want to go out like that, but you want to go out
Like that?
Like that? Like, which is it?
Sure.
And because the John Elway retire after the Super Bowl just doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean,
Other than Kershaw.
Yeah, but who barely played.
Yeah. Get out of a jam.
He did get out of a jam. Like, he made some good pitches. Happy for him. But they didn't.
Way more Scherzers
right.
than there are Kershaws. Assuming Scherzer's done. I don't know if we can assume that.
But John Elway retiring after winning the Super Bowl just is not what happens most of the time. And I would tell Coach Witt, I'd be like, go out with everybody feeling really, really good about you. And I do. I think they'll probably win their next 3 games.
Yeah, that's
odds
the
are.
thing.
and then you're going to have an outside shot at getting into the title game depending on how it breaks. And maybe even you have an argument for an outside playoff berth depending on how everything else. That would be wild. But you have Ute fans.
Absolutely.
They started a Tyler Huntley for Heisman campaign with 2 games to go in the season. You're going to go out with everybody feeling great about it.
I totally agree.
So I don't know. I just think it may be a little bit more complex than what Coach Whitt decides to do. And again, don't get me wrong. I'm not implying people would push him out. I'm not implying any of that because I simply don't know. But I do think there'll be some other things at play.
I think that's probably fair.
Is Morgan going to go, I've been sitting here for a long time, Coach, and I can go coach Penn State right now. Penn State. Now, not to say Morgan would get that job, but that's just the one I picked. There's a zillion of them out there.
There's a lot of good jobs.
I could go coach Auburn tomorrow.
Yeah.
My dream is to coach Utah.
Yeah, I've
but
at least got to interview.
I've
at least got to start interviewing.
I could be the head coach of the Tigers, man.
I totally get it. I'm with you. I still left that game thinking Utah's rolling. The offense is rolling. Devin Dampier is going to be back next year, probably. Witt's going to win these next 3, I think. They're going to be 10-2. They're going to say, man, we had one bad drive that we didn't stop BYU.
I also hope...
Or we had one bad fourth quarter against Texas Tech, and I think if we can win that game, we're going.
Let me ask you this, though. Is Coach Whitt the type of person who's like, I'm going to grab that glory for me, or is he Dean Smith, where he handed Bill Guthrie a championship team? Bill is longtime lieutenant, been with him forever, was handing him the job, handed him what? Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, and who was the point guard? Ed Cota?
I get what you're saying. I totally do.
So if he thinks he's got an all-star team next year, would he want to hand that to his protege, or would he want to grab that glory for old number 1?
Why wouldn't he have done it after his first Rose Bowl appearance?
Done what?
Handed it off to Morgan Skelly. Morgan was ready then.
Because he had years left in the tank. Coach Whitt has been on the is he or isn't he now for 2 years.
At least.
Everybody marked 64 because that was kind of what he had hinted at before. But really, the is he, isn't he has been 2 years. So I think he had gas left in the tank, and maybe he still does. But that's part of the problem because you can't keep Morgan on ice forever. And so if you think he would not be the first coach, Frank Beamer, Joe Paterno, who all the rumors swirl and they can't give it up. That might be Whitt.
But I think some of those guys were legit washed, and Whitt is showing right now he is not washed.
Those guys were all 70 in their 70s.
Sure.
So this is early. Why would we even be assuming that Whitt would be considering retiring if he had not implied it before? Does that make any sense?
No, I totally understand. But to that point, he's 64. He's going to be coming off of a 10-win season. He's going to have a good team coming back. I just had all this for the first time this year. I had a really strong thought after that game. This makes total sense for Whitt to come back. And I don't know if I'd felt that way at any other point this season until this game. That was my takeaway. This was a big win. One of the things Whitt has not done recently is won a big game. He has not won the biggest games. Now, you can go not that far back to get to the Big 12 or the Pac-12 championship game that he did win, but they lost Rose Bowls. Remember the long streak he had of never losing a bowl game? That's certainly not the case anymore. They lose to BYU now. They lost to Texas Tech. These big games, Whitt had not been winning. The Utes had not been winning. And that was my question mark of does he still have his fastball? And you come out and you crush Cincinnati on national TV, and he says, yeah, I still got another season in me. That's what I saw. That's what I left the game thinking, A, this is a very good Utah team. It's not the class of the Big 12, but it is a very good team in the Big 12. And if Whitt wants to come back, I think he has every reason to.
Yeah, he's not a geezer. No, we wouldn't even be speculating. You wouldn't even be talking about his fastball unless he implied a couple of years ago that he wasn't going to coach into his 70s. That wouldn't even be a take that crossed your mind. He's not an old timer. That's the complicated part. Is because he said he was going to retire to enjoy the next phase of his life. Well, there's plenty of coaches that have decided. What's the line in The Godfather about? The Meyer Lansky character. What's his name in The Godfather? Anyway, he's faking that he's old and giving up his businesses, and what he's doing is making a move on other stuff. And the line in The Godfather is he thinks he's going to live forever.
Yeah.
There's a ton of coaches out there that think they're going to live forever and go, oh, I thought I'd feel way older at 64 than I do.
You're right.
I've got so much left to give. But the thing is, you got to be honest about that if a coach is sitting in the wings ready to go. So I don't know. This is an interesting place for the convo to go because I didn't feel that at all.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm glad we dug into that.
It was an impressive performance. It was just a really good performance.
But
for
it
Utah.
was
it was exactly what they wanted to show. It's exactly what I think they should have shown, and they did it.
My takeaway was way more about Utah than Cincinnati, though.
I had a big picture view that I felt was reinforced about the Big 12 overall, and I agree with you. Utah being able to win this game was important, and they found a way to do it. And not just found a way to do it, they made a statement.
They imposed their will.
Yeah,
They Jerry Sloaned it.
Yeah.
They said, well, you know what's coming, now stop it.
Yeah.
And Cincinnati, the old Bearcats, couldn't. Now, they're still the best team in the league.
Sure. Everyone has a bad week.
Everyone has a bad night. Stay tuned. We'll get to the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com coming up next. It's Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about Win Ticket Wednesday, your chance to win big every week. Coming up this Wednesday, you can win tickets to step into the magic at Holiday Lights at Ballpark at America First Square, a brand new immersive holiday tradition opening on November 14th. Reserve your tickets at the Ballpark at AFS.com and listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day on Wednesday for your chance to win. Time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, we've got number 8 BYU heading down to number 9 Texas Tech, set for a huge matchup on Saturday morning.
The interesting number here for me is number 10. And that's the Texas Tech's a 10.5-point favorite in this game, which is the same Utah was against Cincinnati. People, at least the Wizard, as you like to call them, really heavily thinking they can get people to bet on the Raiders over BYU.
If I'm BYU, my strategy going into this game is get down by 20 early.
Yeah. Look bad quick.
Look bad quick, and then really tighten it up. I mean, you heard Coach right there talking about A-Rod's adjustments. And that's what he's talking about, right? BYU's recipe for success is going to be the same as it was against Utah. They're going to have to play really tough against a tough team. Guys like Jack Kelly are going to have to be stars on the defensive end. They're going to have to tighten up some of the leaks. I joke about getting down early. That obviously is not a strategy. If you can prevent yourself from getting down early, it's probably better that way. I don't think the Raiders' offense is as dynamic maybe as some. Now, the stats would lie to me, but I didn't think the Raiders' offense looked that great against Utah. Now, Utah's defense has proved out to be awesome, but I think BYU's defense is good too. So I think BYU's going to have to play super tough against a tough Raider team. And then, if LJ Martin plays, that'd help. But the Bears probably going to have to go out and make some throws, which he did against Iowa State.
Yeah, that's the big question is LJ Martin going to play or not? And if he doesn't, can Bear continue to play the way he did in the second half against Iowa State, and then to follow that up because of what Iowa State did over the weekend, losing to Arizona State's backup quarterback, who is atrocious. Is Iowa State any good, and can you actually replicate what you did against Iowa State against Texas Tech? Having 2 weeks to prepare for it certainly helped.
Good thing Iowa State has a common opponent that they both lost to.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State.
Right. Now, 2 totally different Arizona State teams.
One with a different player
that can throw, and one with a quarterback who might not actually be a quarterback. But yeah, regardless, you've got a week and a half or 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You may not be fully healthy on the offensive side of the ball. This is the type of adversity you have to overcome if you want to win a conference.
Honestly, if LJ Martin plays or not, it might not matter because Texas Tech is really good against the run. I think it's those receivers on the outside, and can the Bear get the ball where it needs to go. That's how BYU is going to score.
And Parker Kingston and Chase Roberts have been awesome this year.
Yeah,
they've been truly elite this
year.
But
they're going to have to beat their guy quickly and make a play because the Bear's not going to have time to throw. I mean, if you want to look at, again, the Utah game, I mean, the defensive front is so good. It's not going to be one of those, I always picture John Beck for some reason, but John Beck standing back there for 6 seconds.
Devin Dampier standing back in the pocket for 15 seconds as long as he wants. Now, what he does with it from there is a totally different story.
That
but
didn't turn out to be a positive.
He's got as much time as he wants. That's not what Bear's going to have.
I don't think so either. So, those guys are going to have to get open early, and he's going to have to make the throws. Probably stand in there in some tense moments.
Now, here's what's great, and someplace we'll probably touch on in our next story here, but the game plan that BYU has, they have the players to execute it.
I think so, too.
And that's the strength, is that, you need your good wide receivers to go out there and put up yards and scores. Well, they've got good wide receivers to do it. And then you're going to need someone who can make a play with his legs at quarterback. Well, Bear can prove that he can do that. And he needs to be able to make a couple of throws. Well, he can do that. And then you're going to need to win the turnover battle. Well, they do that. The corners do that. The special teams does it. It's like all the little things that BYU has to do to win games, they're really good at doing. That's the good sign. That's why they are undefeated right now. That's why there are 4 teams in college football that are undefeated. They know their game plan. They execute it well. It's catered perfectly to the players that they do have. You just hope that all the players they have are ready to go.
What's next?
Number 2, you know what they say, guys. 3 is officially a streak.
And?
That's 3 losses in a row.
For the Utah Jazz.
I was hoping you guys could elaborate.
The Utah Jazz lost to the Charlotte Hornets last night. The shorthanded Charlotte Hornets, no LaMelo Ball. Jazz also shorthanded. We learned shortly before the game that Walker Kessler has returned to Utah with this lingering shoulder injury that is the same shoulder he had hurt in the preseason.
That's not good.
It's not good.
But whatever. Take your time, Walker. It doesn't matter. Yeah, there's no reason to not play healthy and deal with a lingering injury.
Especially now, he didn't get paid.
This early in the season and all the things,
Walker should do nothing to endanger his long-term future.
No, I don't think so either. You should never lose to the Hornets by 20 ever. Now, I actually think they're better without LaMelo Ball, believe it or not. I mean, look at the way they played against the Jazz. It was fluid, and they didn't take a shot that wasn't an open one. Mm-hmm. A part of that's probably the Jazz problem or the Jazz fault, but I think it's a bad sign that the coach is calling out energy 6 games in. Will in the postgame was basically saying the team lacks energy, and it's 6 games into the season. And I don't know, Ben. Maybe you could recognize the voice better than I could. I don't know who asked him the question. Can you practice trying hard? Mm-hmm. But I actually, as funny as a question as that sounds, I thought it was a really good question. And Will's answer was essentially, no, you can't practice. He's like, this is the NBA.
Yeah.
There's no half ace in it out there. Like, if you're going to play, you better be trying extremely hard or you're not going to make it.
I don't really know what's going on with the Utah Jazz right now. And this is the first time I feel like I can say that in a while. All of last season, we knew what it was about. We knew it was goofy. They were faking injuries. It was all silly. And it was on purpose, and it felt like they were in control of this crash landing. I kind of feel like they've lost control of the crash landing.
But isn't that what everybody wanted? Try hard and lose?
Yeah, you're not trying hard. These guys haven't tried hard for the last 3
So if they lost by 3,
games.
It would be better than 20?
I don't know, but this is really disheartening if you're on the team, I would imagine. There is a thing of, hey, we lost to Sacramento by 1 point on the road, or hey, you're losing to these teams close. Who was their second loss? I guess Portland, they lost by 4, but man, they were down 20 in that game, and they put together a crazy fourth quarter just to make it close, and they still lost. When I watch this team, I feel like they don't know what's being asked of them. I feel like a lot of the players aren't getting any better. And that's the first time I felt that way watching a Will Hardy team. Is these guys don't know, either he's got the wrong game plan for them and they can't execute it, so he is asking them to do things they're not capable of, and then not catering the game to them, which is, not good coaching, which I think Will's a really good coach, so I kind of don't understand the disconnect there. And then I wonder how quickly they're going to have to abandon what kind of the plan of the season was, which was, we're going to let you go out there and coach to win. Now, I don't think either of us thought they were going to win games, but they were going to coach with an ability to win. I wonder if you have to change that directive early in the season and say, we just got to go back to trying to develop some of these guys and just put them in situations to play better, even if it doesn't get us closer to winning. And again, I say us, we, I'm talking from the perspective of Will Hardy. I'm not a member of the Utah Jazz.
I don't think scheme is the problem, no. I don't even know if there is a problem, to be honest. I think he's screaming at his players to to figure out what they have to do to exist as an NBA player. And I think that there's as many in-game adjustments there are messages. SVHT is not starting because he's the fourth best player on the team or whatever, however you want to look at that. He's not. Will Hardy's talking about energy. It wouldn't be surprised to me if he's screaming at his number 5 pick. Come on. I mean, Ace was not engaged last night. And I'm going to give the rookies all sorts of latitude, but he's speaking to somebody. He's speaking to Bryce Sensabaugh. He's speaking to others about energy and playing and doing what you got to do to win, which they did not do last night. I don't think that's a scheme thing. I think it's a them thing. And I was really high on Bryce Sensabaugh coming into this year, but he's not going to play. Well, let me put it this way. How do you give up 126 points to the Hornets? The same way you gave up, what was it? It was the Kings, I think. Was it the Kings?
They gave up 108 points to the Kings.
What was the game? Because Will Hardy has talked about being blow-bys in 2 post games and made it Portland. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you can't stay in front of your guy and they don't even have to use a pick, you're not going to play. I mean, you can't exist in the NBA. Why is isolation the most efficient offense that you can possibly run? Because if my guy's better than the guy standing in front of him,
you don't have to run anything.
You don't have to run anything.
Yeah.
LeBron's just going to beat his guy or run him over and then dunk it. I mean, that's the point of isolation basketball. If like in football, if you don't stop the run, well, don't worry about stopping the pass. Like if you can't stop the ball, you're dead. You're dead. And that's why Charlotte hit every open 3 in the book, because they were all open, because none of the Jazz outside of Keontae George could stay in front of their guy.
Then
it was
I guess that's my question.
embarrassing.
Did you just pick all the wrong players? And maybe that's part of it.
Maybe.
Like you have drafted offensive first players.
I think
Bryce
that's
is an offensive
yes.
guy. Flip is an offensive guy. Even Keontae is an offensive guy. Now credit Keontae, who's become a much better, like a very good defensive player. Like he really is putting in the effort on both sides of the ball.
And was good last night.
And was good again last night.
Yep.
He is really bought in. He has better physical tools to be able to do those things than both Flip and Bryce Sensabaugh. So then my question is, did you not draft the right guys? Which is fine. You drafted I mean, remember, Bryce was the 28th pick.
Yeah, and
Flip was in the second round.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're
So
not going to
who
get
cares?
perfect players. But then, like, are you going to hammer those guys for not doing things that they've never been able to do? I don't know if I understand that mindset from Will Hardy.
That's why you draft flawed players. You hope you can fix the flaws. And if you can't, then you cut them. I mean, Bryce Sensabaugh's not going to be on the team anymore.
Then that's very possible.
That's what he's saying. That's what that postgame was all about. Was like, yeah, we drafted you as a ball hog offensive first guy from Ohio State. You were never going to be that at the next level, ever. That was not going to be a thing. You got picked at the end of the first round. If you were going to be that in the NBA, you would have been picked second.
I do.
So they thought we can lean out this big, long guy, teach him how to move his feet, turn him into a 3-and-D dude. And if he's not going to learn how to move his feet and guard, then he's not going to be a 3-and-D guy, and he's not going to be on the team. I mean,
I think you're hurting yourself if you're drafting guys expecting them to change entirely who they are. I think that's a really bad design.
yeah, but you can't pick the perfect player at the end of the first round.
You're not going
it's
to.
It's not going to happen.
But no, you got to pick the guys that you think you can make work with what they do. And if you can't make work with what they do, then that is bad coaching.
Then
why are you drafting those guys?
They thought Donovan Mitchell was a defensive dog when they drafted him. I mean, it just doesn't. You don't always know when you draft. Guys don't always turn out to be that way. And yeah, I mean, we were talking to Mike Smith about drafting Michael Olakandi, the Clippers did way back in the day. Well, yeah, they saw a raw guy who's barely played any basketball, but Mike told us this. He ran like a sub 5-minute mile or something crazy. And everybody's like, oh, this dude's an athlete. Man, this guy could dominate. It was right after Tim Duncan got into the league. And they're like, let's draft this dude because we can put all the tools there. And it just,
There is, but here's the thing. It's not just Flip and it's not just Bryce Sensabaugh at the end of the first round. It's Cody Williams, who was the 10th pick, and it's Ace Bailey, who was the 5th pick. Like, why are these guys not in better spots to do the things they do well, or are they just bad players, and did you just draft all the wrong players?
well, the players have a responsibility
They do.
too. And you can't predict the future when you draft players. Both you and I like the Cody Williams draft. I'm still willing to give him some time.
Absolutely.
Although
and Ace has played 6 games.
Although he's a turnover machine. Yeah, but Will's got to get these guys where he needs to get Ace Bailey where Walker Kessler got last year ASAP. Where you have to really figure out what it takes in this league. Like, Ace, you got to square your shoulders, dude. I know you can get away with that at AAU because you're a freak athlete, but to shoot in this league, you got to square up.
Yeah, you do.
because those guys are closing out of you like a freight train, and no longer are they 6'1". They're now 6'10". So you got to square your shoulders and give yourself a good chance to make that shot. And he probably doesn't want to do that, Ben. So how do you plug into somebody like,
well, that's
no,
coaching.
dude, this is what it takes. It is, but you can't do it overnight.
No, you can't.
That's my point. And that's why we're getting these grumpy post games, and that's why SVHT is still starting, is because you got to figure out a way to program it into these guys' brains that this is what it takes to make it. And if Cody Williams last year proved anything, just letting him loose and have entitled minutes doesn't lead to good habits and doesn't necessarily lead to development.
We'll see if they make changes tonight against the Celtics, 5:30.
Next.
Number 3, speaking of tonight, A.J. Dybantsa officially makes his BYU debut.
And not to get lost in what the Jazz are still in they're not tanking. They're not good enough to tank. The Jazz aren't good enough to say, let's let our foot off the pedal. Part of the reason they have been positioned where they are right now by the front office and by ownership is to be in the running for guys like A.J. Dybantsa, who's going to make his debut tonight for BYU, and I truly think he's going to go off for 30 points tonight. Like, I think he is that caliber of prospect where he is going to be a scoring machine. He's going to dominate games physically. And I think because the rest of BYU's team is good enough, he is not going to face what Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper faced at Rutgers last season, which is, well, none of the other players can do anything on the team, so all the defensive attention comes to me. Don't get me wrong. He will be the top of the scouting report, but then Richie Saunders is going to go off, and K was going to go off, and Rob Wright's going to go off. Like, you can't simply take away everything BYU does. I think rightfully so. They're ranked in the top 10.
No, this is the grand experiment. I never thought I'd see at BYU. The scrappy upperclassmen, not upper class like class, like scrappy old BYU, overachieving BYU basketball team. But you plug a couple of stars on there, and man, let's see how it goes.
And to be fair, they've gotten 4- and 5-star recruits before. They've had a Sean Bradley. They've had, the LP3. They've had some good players. Nothing in the caliber of A.J. Dybantsa. This is totally fine.
Well, I mean, A.J.'s got to deliver because you know what?
He does.
You know what Jimmer and Danny Ainge did? They delivered. I mean, maybe they weren't as highly touted coming in, but they were the best player in the country. I mean, he's still got to go out there and deliver.
But legitimately, A.J. should step on the floor as the best player in our state since Damian Lillard, and before that, Keith Van Horn. And I know I'm blowing over Andre Miller and Andrew Bogut, who was the number 1 overall pick. I get it. He should be better than all those guys, and he should probably be better than they are from day one.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype. I got it. He's still got to do it.
He's got to do it.
He's got to do it, and he hasn't done anything yet. So
I'm not going to slow play it.
Let's remember Andre Miller was pretty dang good.
Andre Miller is one of the great college basketball players ever to come through this state. Absolutely. Made a best player on the national championship game. I'm not saying that A.J. Dybantsa needs to lead BYU to the national championship game. I don't think he's going to. But individual talent, he should be as good as anyone we've probably ever seen.
Yeah, I know, but and not to play down, but I remember when Michael Beasley was supposed to be that at Kansas State. I remember there's been a lot of that. We got to see it. All right, stay tuned. More next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
It's a much-needed bye week for the Utes as they get set for the final stretch of the 25 season. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you to join Hanson Scotty coming up tomorrow. RGS Exteriors from noon to 3, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Ben, some news, NBA news coming down the pipe today. We knew that Ja Morant had been suspended for a game. And now Shams reports suspension comes as a result of Grizzlies coach Tuomas Izelo.
Yeah.
This is his first year, by the way. He was an assistant on the staff, which I'll get to in a second, last year. But he's challenging Morant's leadership and effort in a post-game exchange after the loss to the Lakers on Friday night, to which Morant responded in a tone deemed inappropriate, sources said.
Yeah.
Now, the story of Tuomas is interesting. Ben, his background is all in Europe. before last year, and he was the talk of the town. His final year in Europe, he was coaching in Paris. They won the Euro Cup, the Champions League, the French League Cup. He was the Euro Coach of the Year. Kind of a innovative dude, right? Well, I like innovative, which is kind of why I followed this story a little bit. But he comes in, ownership forces Taylor Jenkins to hire him and basically says, this guy is our offensive coordinator.
Right.
And Taylor Jenkins said, well, I don't like that much, but it's better than not having a job at all.
Uh-huh.
And so he took Tuomas onto the staff.
Uh-huh.
Now, Tuomas came in and tried to put in a different offense, much more European, much more ball movement, much less
Ja Morant.
Much less Ja Morant. And if you go look at the stats for Ja last year, you can tell the minute that Taylor Jenkins wadded up that offense, told old Tuomas to take a seat, and did what Taylor Jenkins has always done as head coach of the Grizzlies, and that's put the ball in Ja Morant's hands. Then fast forward to, what was it been, 3 games or something before the season ended?
Very late.
And they were going to the playoffs?
Uh-huh.
And they canned Taylor Jenkins, probably for being insubordinate and wadding up the offense and throwing it into the trash can. And they promoted Tuomas. Now, you made a good point, or you brought up an interesting point talking about the Jazz in the last segment about fit and what you're trying to do, and are those players capable or going to be successful in what you're trying to do. Now, why I admire Memphis for being innovative and thinking like, okay, well, let's bring in a different style. Maybe we can do things a little bit and be a disruptor or whatever. The problem is your star isn't going to swallow that pill. So then you just created a huge new problem on your hands. Are you trying to tell me that Ja Morant is grumpy, that the whole team isn't centered around Ja Morant anymore? I'm shocked.
It is one thing to not cater your offense to Ace Bailey or Kyle Filipowski or Bryce Sensabaugh or any young player, even the number 1 overall pick or top 5 pick. Most NBA teams do not do that unless it's a very, very, very special player. The Mavericks aren't doing it right now for Cooper Flagg. In fact, they're making him play point guard, which is not his natural position. When you are paying a guy $40 million like Ja Morant, that conversation does change because he got $40 million by being an offensive engine.
By being Ja Morant.
By being that piece.
Yep.
So when you bring in Tuomas Isalo and you stop doing the things that make Ja Morant, you're going to run into issues.
If they were going to do this, I admire it. Like I said, good for you. But then you've got to trade Ja. I mean,
correct.
If you think that you're a playoff team who just needs an extra boost, then you don't go radical like this. You go radical like this to start a team, not to take it to the next level. And it was never going to go well because you're asking Ja to sacrifice attention.
You've gone, Tuomas Isalo is kind of a stinking Riley. It's a high-powered offense. That's the design. And Ja Morant is he's an option quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what he is, right? Dribble a bunch, keep the ball on the ground, get to the basket. Not about passing and getting shots up.
Like the Lakers should never hire this guy.
No, agreed. This is a person you're trying to find an advantage when you're inherently at a disadvantage as a team. It's a little bit of a gimmick. It's not bad.
I just more mean they have Luka. Like,
sure.
Move Luka off the ball and tell him to do what he doesn't want to do. He's not going to like it either.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm speaking about the type of player Ja is. Like, if you're going to have Ja Morant and expect him to be a $40 million player, then you have to run your team a certain way. That's why the Hawks will never go anywhere.
Yeah.
And by the way, I guess Trae Young is injured, so we hope a speedy recovery for him. But, I mean, you can't have a player like that.
Like that?
You know, you have to have the types of players to fit your system.
Ja
is my point.
And you know what, to Will Hardy's credit, for the criticism I offered in the last segment, he is maximizing Lauri Markkanen right now, as well as any person could maximize Lauri Markkanen. Lauri has been offensively brilliant to start the year. And
missed some layups last night.
He did, but he's averaging 30 points a game, and he's shooting unbelievably well from the floor. If you decide you want to move off of him, you're in a much more advantageous spot than where the Grizzlies are right now should they decide to move off of Ja Morant, which is they have to, because they are believing in an offensive system that doesn't benefit him.
Or they need to move off of Tuomas.
Yeah.
The problem is doing it at the same time.
Yeah. I think they will go with the coach. Usually a bad decision.
Well, I'd move off Ja too, but not because I just don't think that kind of basketball wins. I just don't.
Ja's third year in the NBA. He averaged 27 points a game. His next year, 26. Next year, 25. Last year, 23. This year, 20. There's just a real chance with a guy like that who plays with that offensive style.
Like that?
We have seen the best of Ja Morant.
Stay tuned. We'll get back to football coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go!
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It doesn't get much bigger than this. BYU and Texas Tech. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you about the Hercules Hero of the Week. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We're now moving into basketball season. So get your assistant basketball coach or whatever, or your team manager, get them a little love.
Yeah, that's nice.
A little recognition. Trying
Nice
to think
idea.
of the other winter sports.
Sure.
Gymnastics coach.
Do you want to talk football or you want to talk basketball?
No, we should talk football.
Okay.
We've gone heavy basketball the last couple of segments, and we can get back to the Jazz coming up, but we should probably go heavy football. If Utah wins out, you kind of scoffed at the outside chance of a
No,
playoff.
I didn't. I hadn't really thought about it until they jumped up to number 17 in the AP poll, and we'll see when the college football playoff ranking comes out. Is that tomorrow? We get our first one. They usually do them on a Tuesday, right?
It's all about who.
Don't they do it after week 8?
I don't know.
9?
Halfway through the year, yeah. It doesn't even matter. But yeah, I think it's sometime this week.
Conceivably, and I don't have the teams in front of them because the ranking hasn't come out yet, other than if we want to base it off of the AP poll.
Well, teams are going to lose. I mean,
BYU and Utah have to play each other, or BYU and Texas Tech have to play each other. And if Utah wins out and a couple of these teams in front of them choke down the stretch, Miami continues to fall apart, or whoever. I don't even know if Miami's ahead of Utah in the top 25 right now. There is a crazy outside chance that it could happen, I guess. I don't think so. I still think they're going to say, look, you lost to Texas Tech, you lost to BYU, that punishes you. But let's say either BYU or Texas Tech loses both of these games. And what I mean by both of these games is they play each other now and they play each other again in the Big 12 title game, if that happens. If one of those teams loses both, they don't care who wins a regular season game. Utah or BYU beat SMU last year, and SMU got in over BYU. Maybe Utah could back themselves into the college football playoff in a very hilarious fashion. But again, how silly the playoff would be if Utah were to get in over either Texas Tech or BYU.
it comes down to how many Big 12 teams get in. Because if it's 2, then I think Utah's got a better shot at it than maybe you would think. And for this reason, if multi-bid leagues, it is actually a disadvantage to make your conference title game in a weird way.
It totally is.
Because if you lose your conference title game, and let's say that's Texas Tech, the Raiders' second loss, they lose to BYU in the title game, and that's loss number 2 for them. They're coming off an L. Whereas Utah, if they steamroll Kansas,
5
that's
straight.
going to be the last thing everybody, 5 straight, red hot, beat every team by 30, whatever. Well, why would we pick the Raiders over the Utes? Because the Raiders just got stomped by the Cougs in the title game. It's kind of a dirty little secret that there's a big disadvantage to making the title game if you lose.
Yeah, there are exceptions.
In multi-bid leagues. Now, maybe the Big 12 is only a one big league.
I think that's the ultimate
that's how
case.
it breaks.
Is the Big 12 is likely a one bid league, and the SEC is going to get 5 teams. I think that's possible. They would love to do that.
At some point, it gets tough to justify that, though, because I don't think there are 5 legit teams in the SEC.
Can you argue there are 2 legit teams in the Big 12, and you trust the college football playoff committee to believe that?
Because you look at the record, and you can point to because remember, they're dumb. The record is the most important and first criteria. They will not put in 4 lost teams or whatever instead of 2 lost team in the Big 12.
They talked about this on the broadcast on Saturday night. And I don't know if you heard it or not. And if you did and you repeated, it's fine. If you didn't and you repeated, it's fine. What's the best case scenario for the Big 12 from here on out with BYU, Texas Tech, and Utah? What's the best case scenario?
BYU is undefeated and takes their first loss in the title game to Texas Tech. And then that would mean Texas Tech has 2 losses, gets the AQ, and BYU gets in as a 1-loss team.
That is exactly what they laid out in the Utah game of what would be the best case scenario for the Big 12 is BYU wins out and then loses the Big 12 title game.
Right.
So an AQ team has to go in Texas Tech, and BYU's 12-1 at that point and has only lost once to a team it had previously beaten and is still the number 12 team in the country or 11 team in the country at that point. Because if BYU beats Texas Tech this weekend and wins out until the final game of the regular season, or wins out through the final game of the regular season and is undefeated, BYU's going to be the number 3 ranked team in the country at the end of the year. If you go in and lose the Big 12 title game, who cares at that point? You're still going to go to the college football playoff.
I agree.
That's the best case scenario. And even at that point, Utah might be ranked number 12. Utah could be 10 at that point, and then you could have a serious argument for 3. There's no chance they're getting 3. But I'm with you. That is the best case scenario for the Big 12 right now.
Yes, and they would have somebody riding high on top, which is the disadvantage have been the disadvantage of the Big 12 and the Pac-12 before that, honestly.
On the flip side, I would say the worst case scenario for the Big 12 this weekend is Texas Tech winning.
To get 2 teams in?
You're not going to get 2 teams in if Texas Tech wins this weekend. I think that's honestly pretty simple.
I know.
Unless it's Utah, who doesn't make the Big 12 title game, and yes, steamrolls 5 teams in a row en route to the number 11th overall ranking, and a couple of weird teams in front of them lose.
Okay, right now, but if you look at the SEC, Ben, and I don't know, I'd have to really look into schedules to see who plays who, because Lord knows in today's day and age of these giant conferences. But right now, Texas sits in 5th at 7-2 overall.
Mm-hmm.
After that, you move to Oklahoma in 6th and Vanderbilt in 7th. All of those teams at 7-2. I would bet all 3 of those take at least 1 more loss.
I would think so.
And all of a sudden, they're 3 lost teams. So can you make an argument for 3 lost teams in the SEC?
You're talking, that's their ranking in the SEC, not the ranking in the AP Top 25.
No, I'm not. I don't. Who cares about their ranking? I'm talking about their record.
Okay.
Right now, Ole Miss is at 8-1, Georgia 7-1, Alabama 7-1, Texas A&M is at 8-0. Those 4 teams are getting in because it's the SEC, and that's going to happen. And you know what? Ole Miss and Georgia and Alabama, for that matter, probably could pick up an extra loss and still get in. But after that, Texas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt, they're all going to take another loss. Mm-hmm. That means they're going to finish the season with 3 losses. They're going to put an extra SEC team with an extra loss ahead of a Big 12 2-loss team? I don't think so.
Here is Utah's at 17 right now. I'm totally with you. And I'm just going to go through this really quickly, and we'll see if we can figure out if this could possibly happen. And I'm not going to include everything. Utah, let's say Utah goes into the college football playoff tomorrow night as the 17th ranked team. That's their opening ranking. Here's teams in front of them, kind of close-ish, in front of them, that could lose some games and fall out. Okay, now Oregon is ranked high. They're clearly in the top 10. Oregon's close to the season does include USC and Washington. Let's say they drop at least one of those and maybe 2 of those. Notre Dame is the number 10 ranked team in the country right now. They still play Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, Stanford. Probably don't lose any of those.
No.
If they do, though, they're going to fall behind Utah. Oklahoma, the rest of the way, plays Alabama, Missouri, and LSU. They're going to lose at least one of those, and they could lose 2 of those. They could lose to Alabama and Missouri.
And even if they beat Alabama, that's Alabama's second loss in league.
So that team falls.
Right.
You've got Virginia, who is leading the ACC currently, plays Wake at Duke, and then a huge game to end the season against your beloved Hokies.
See, that's the thing. The ACC isn't getting 2 teams in.
It's probably not.
Georgia Tech lost.
Texas, ahead of Utah right now, plays Georgia this weekend, home against Arkansas, and then home against number 3 ranked Texas A&M. They're going to lose at least 1 and probably 2 of those games. So and I can keep going down
Louisville,
the list here.
If UVA goes undefeated and Louisville does too, then ACC may get 2 teams. And just do what amend my previous take.
But to, expedite this conversation, again, to the point, Vandy has to play Tennessee, a top 25 team. They've still got to play Auburn. I don't believe in Auburn necessarily, but that is the SEC that can beat you up. And how much do you actually believe in Vandy? And then Georgia Tech's in this conversation as well. They play Georgia to close the year in their rivalry game. So to that point, there is the doomsday scenario that gets Utah to the number 9 team in the country, is not playing in the Big 12 title game, so they avoid that last loss. It's actually not quite as far-fetched as it seemed 3 weeks ago when they're licking their wounds after falling to BYU.
And for those Cougar fans out there who go, well, they lost to the only 2 teams they played. Yeah, but what did you expect when you expand the playoff to include 12 teams?
Yeah. Right.
Now we're talking about 2 lost teams and 3 lost teams that get in consideration for the thing.
And it's all based on how your schedule rolled out in the random dice roll of did you play 5 bad teams to close the season and crush them all? That's a better thing than playing Texas Tech in week 9.
Yeah. And for people out there saying, oh, with those 2 losses, they don't deserve it. Don't deserve to have a chance at the national title. Yeah, that's what I told you all along when everybody was talking about expanding the playoff.
I agree with you.
1,000%. It used to be really cool where every game mattered. Now it just does not.
Yeah, again, we used to have a 12-week college football playoff. It started week 1, and it went to the end of the season and then the conference championship games. It's a 13-week playoff. It was pretty awesome.
It was great. And now you can dump 2 to the only 2 good teams on your schedule and still make it. Yes.
And that's not to say Utah's not a good team. Utah's a really good team.
They are.
Should they be competing for a national title after losing to the 2 good teams on their schedule?
Probably not.
I'm not of that opinion.
Me either. But that's the world we're living in.
Yeah, and we can't stop it. So we can talk about how Utah gets there and the legitimacy of Utah getting there.
It's out there because they're not. I don't think they're going to lose. I mean, Kansas State, I think, is maybe kind of sneaky tough, but I think they should roll the Jayhawks at the end of the year.
You never know.
Let's see. Let me just bring it up. They don't have TCU. At Ballore.
Kansas State, you're right.
Kansas State
the
at
other
home,
purple team.
And then at Kansas.
The other purple team, excuse me.
I thought it was Ballore.
You're right. At Baylor, yes, TCU. Or at Baylor, Kansas State, and then Kansas.
Yeah, they should win all 3 of those. Yeah, absolutely.
Really well, it's a funny setup. If Utah were to get in over BYU into the college football playoff, I can't imagine.
I don't see a scenario where that happens, honestly.
I don't think so either, unless BYU were to. If BYU loses 2 more regular season games, they're probably not going to the Big 12 title game.
Right.
But if BYU were to lose to Texas Tech twice, which is absolutely in the cards, Texas Tech is a very good team. You get them at home, and then you get them at a neutral site. If that's in the cards, BYU could fall behind Utah before the end of the season because that's 2 losses over the next 5 weeks.
Yeah, but then Utah also has 2 losses, and BYU won head-to-head. I don't see that happening with the identical record. And BYU would get into the conference title game with 1 loss. I don't see Utah getting in over BYU. I think BYU has to be the team.
And then Utah gets in behind
them.
If Texas Tech wins out, and we think that's the pathway for Utah to get in, I don't know how that's any different than BYU.
Because BYU beat Utah.
Well, so did Texas Tech. That if our argument is...
Yeah, Texas Tech is in with a 1 loss, and in this scenario, BYU would have 2 losses, one of which was in the conference title game. Then you've got 2 2-loss teams going, and you go, wow, how can we decide who's better here? And then you look at BYU, and I guess they picked SMU last year.
Exactly.
But I don't know why they would pick Utah. I knew why they picked SMU last year. I don't know why they would pick Utah over BYU.
But you also have BYU having lost 2 games out of their last 4. In this situation, 5, and Utah winning 5 straight.
To a top 10 team.
If they care. They may not care. I don't think they want 2 Big 12 teams in, is the truth. I think, honestly, we're probably spinning our wheels talking about 2 Big 12 teams.
They'd rather have 2 ACC teams?
How many SEC teams is too many?
I don't think they can justify it, though. They'll put in as many as they can justify. I don't think they can justify it.
But again, it's a TV show, as you have always said.
Yeah,
it's a TV show.
But you also have to keep the antitrust people off your the Mark Shirtliffs of the world. It has to appear fair. I understand what you're saying. They make it all SEC teams, and especially since the Mouse has the rights, they'd push out the Big Ten if they could. But they can't do that because it doesn't have any legitimacy. So if you only gave 3 bids to the ACC, the Big 12, and the Group of 5, that'd be pretty hard to justify if you're putting a 4-loss Vanderbilt team in.
I agree. I would hope they don't do that.
They can't get away with that.
I would hope they don't think they can. Could they? Sure.
Yes, could they? Yeah, they could put the entire SEC in if they wanted, but they could never get away with it. They have to keep the idea that it's legitimate, not only for legal reasons, but for TV reasons too. Because that's part of the draw of it.
It's really easy to legitimize the Big 12 being a bad conference if BYU loses twice to close the season, both times to Texas Tech.
But then you're saying Texas Tech is good. I mean, it's not just about BYU.
Yeah, but then Texas Tech is in and nobody else in the Big 12 is in. If BYU loses twice before the end of the season, including a conference championship game, I don't think they go to the college football
I think
playoff.
that has way more to do with the SEC and the Big Ten. Again, because I think they can't justify putting a 3-loss team in front of a 2-loss team. Or they would have done it last year. Because an SEC team did not get in over SMU. They picked SMU. Because SMU had 2 losses and the SEC team had 3. Who was it? Tennessee made it.
Was it Alabama?
It was Alabama with 3 losses. Right.
Yeah.
All right. And that's Alabama. They would have loved to put Alabama in. So I don't know. It's interesting. It'll depend on what happens to close the season.
And
for sure.
it probably depends on what the games look like. If BYU gets shellacked, it could be totally different. And same on the flip side if Texas Tech gets shellacked.
All right. Stay tuned. More Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go!
Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It doesn't get much bigger than this. BYU and Texas Tech. Your home for the best coverage of Cougar football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. Ben, we've the college carousel, coaching carousel this year is wild. And we can get into all the jobs that are open. But the latest one to open up, the Auburn Tigers.
Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze?
Hugh Freeze. I'm saying his name wrong the whole time.
Has been canned from Auburn. What got old Hugh canceled at Ole Miss? Wasn't it controversial? Didn't he?
Yeah,
I'd have to go look at it. It had something to do with like strippers or something. I can't remember. Seriously, it's something nefarious like that. Not that it matters. Do you know who broke the news of his firing? I found this hilarious. We don't need to dwell on it. Some bozo on the Snap Talk named a great underscore tweeter broke the news, Ben.
Good job.
Do you know how they did it? I love this. This guy, this great underscore tweeter should be a journalist. He figured out that Hugh Freeze had canceled his standing tea time on Sunday at the Auburn University Club. So he got online. He found out that Hugh canceled his tea time at 1:30 and figured that probably is the end of Hugh.
Hugh Freeze, it was, recruiting violations.
Yeah, wasn't he getting some extra incentives for his players?
He was. Yeah. The worst kinds. Or the best. This is entirely, look, coaches have always gotten fired. It feels like NIL is having a greater impact on this than ever before, too, right? Because you have donors spending tens of millions of dollars, quite literally, combined, maybe not individually, in some cases, to buy a team. And if you don't win with that type of money, the donor now says, well, I get to dictate who plays. Why couldn't I dictate who coaches? And they've always done that somewhat, but now they have more power than ever.
I could buy into that, I guess. Sure. I think it's fan expectation / lack of intelligence.
And I'm not saying Hugh Freeze didn't deserve to be fired. He is not he did not do a good job.
Well, let me put it differently. Let me pick a different job that opened up this weekend. Maryland fired Mike Loxley. Now, listen, when New Mexico fired Mike Loxley, they really had a good reason because he caved in the face of one of his assistant coaches randomly. But Maryland, have you seen what Mike Loxley's done in Maryland? He's had 3 seasons in a row where they were above 500 and making a bowl game, playing in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They beat Stinkin' Riley last year. Remember that? On what planet does Maryland think they're good enough to fire a coach like that?
Like that?
Bronco at UVA.
Yeah.
What planet do you think you're living on that But the truth is that expectations adjust as programs get better, and it adjusts to an unfair level based on minimal success. The smartest thing Chris Hill ever did was not fire Kyle Whittingham when he had a couple of 4 and 8 seasons when first getting into the Pac-12, because expectations were not correct. The program needed a couple of years to find its footing in the new league, whereas maybe some fans out there were expecting them to step right in and dominate. The best thing Chris Hill did was be patient and let the coach that you put the faith in do his job and build it up, right? The expectations in Chris Hill's mind were not out of whack eventually. They may have been there for a few minutes. But like UVA, this is my point. UVA stinks most of the time for a reason.
Yeah.
For a reason. Mm-hmm. Because nobody cares about football at UVA. They don't get a ton of resources pumped into the program, and it's hard to get players in academically. All that is all true. So if you find a coach that can make that work to have a modicum amount of success, and then all of a sudden you come back and go, hey, Bronco, why aren't you winning the league every year? That's crazy.
Agreed.
That's crazy. That's the problem. Now, maybe NIL has ramped up expectations or whatever. I would buy into that argument, but it doesn't make those expectations any more ridiculous. Auburn is the number 2 in their state.
Yes, but where should they be in the SEC?
Probably 6th.
Okay, where are they right now? They're 14th. Like that is legitimately bad. They are bad. They just lost to another previously winless team in the SEC in Kentucky, and they scored 3 points against Kentucky.
I'm not saying that Hugh Freeze is great or even great for Auburn. Who was that Boise State guy they hired before that who was just dreadful? I'm not defending these terrible coaches. I'm saying that Auburn fans would probably tell you, we're going to win it every year, and anything less is unacceptable. And it's like,
we've been there.
Know who you
Gus
are.
won
Absolutely
us a championship.
Not.
Cam won us a championship. That's what we should expect.
I feel bad for Morgan Scalley that he's eventually going to take over for Kyle Whittingham and have unrealistic expectations at Utah. No offense. Witt has won more than he should have at Utah.
Is Stinkin' Riley the only guy on the planet who can consistently underachieve at his job and seemingly get extended every year?
Well, he doesn't get extended every year. He got that one huge extension, and that's the reason they can't fire him, because they're not going to pay him $90 million to go away.
Doesn't seem to be stopping anybody else.
It's stopping USC.
Apparently. But it is amazing that is a school. Because why I ask that is, where should Auburn be? Like you said, probably 6th in the SEC. That's probably right around where they are. They're middle class. They are. Where should USC be? In the Pac-12, it should have been number 1 or 2 every year. Where should they be in the Big Ten? Maybe not 1 or 2, but they should be top 4 or 5 all the time.
Absolutely not. If they had anybody with half a brain, they should be 1 or 2. There's no excuse to be crappy at
then
USC.
Fine, say
There's
1 or 2.
none.
I agree. Great. Even better. Yes, there are a couple of teams that you should be able to place where they are and have those high expectations. Auburn is probably not one of them.
It's not.
Auburn's not one of them.
Alabama, I guess, although in the new NIL era, they don't have as much dough as other teams. But, you know, if you want to throw in places that a brainless idiot should be able to win, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, USC.
Yep.
What am I missing? Oregon now, because they have the unlimited piggy bank. Those are the only places that should have those kind of expectations. Georgia, maybe.
LSU, sure.
No, not LSU. I think they fall into the unrealistic expectation category because they accidentally won a couple national.
Absolutely. Georgia has the best recruiting talent in the country.
I shouldn't leave out Georgia. Absolutely, you're 100% right. But Georgia, what's interesting is Georgia wasn't that before Kirby Smart. So I wonder if actually Georgia isn't one of these, but Kirby Smart's won more games at Georgia than he should have.
Did you say Florida? Florida could be in this
I don't
conversation.
put Florida in this conversation because they accidentally won a couple national championships 20 years ago doesn't mean that they're that anymore. Clemson isn't that anymore.
No, Clemson shouldn't be in that conversation.
Dabo won more than he should have there for a long time, and that doesn't Clemson was middle of the ACC for its entire existence until that. No, Texas has huge built-in advantages.
Yeah.
Alabama has huge built-in advantages. Ohio State has huge built-in advantages. Ohio State puts the NFL franchises in that state in kind of like what Duke does to the Charlotte Hornets. Mm-hmm. That's how big Ohio State is. Yeah. Nobody, I'm not going to say nobody, but the Browns and the Bengals don't get the love that most of the NFL does because they're all Ohio State fans. Mm-hmm. So I don't put Utah into that category. I mean, Morgan's going to have to win a ton of games to live up to expectations. And, yeah, sure, he could do it, but it's kind of not fair, honestly.
He's walking into a totally different situation than Witt walked into, and it's because of his rival is now putting himself in that situation where BYU should be expected to be good every year.
Yeah, how good, though? This is the combo we're talking about. How good, though? The top half of the league? Sure. Win it every year? I don't think so.
No, I don't think anyone's going to win the Big 12 every year. Even if you have a huge financial advantage at Texas Tech or at BYU, I don't know if you have all the built-in advantages of a Texas or a Oklahoma when the Big 12 used to look.
I don't think so.
Used to look that way.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's what kind of combo we have in here. And, yeah, NIL, to bring it full circle to your point, yeah, I'm sure it's had its effect because now all of a sudden boosters are donating millions and their patience is thin. But it doesn't make their expectations any more realistic or any more fair.
Agreed.
There's
there's less logic, not more.
Yeah. I mean, Thomas Jefferson's great-great-great-grandnephew is probably pouring $10 million into UVA and has unrealistic expectations.
It is funny because, for a long time, and there's obviously exceptions to this rule, I'm sure, but if you were to go back, and who is it? Is it USA Today who releases the coaches' salary list?
You know what's funny? They did until they fired the guy that compiled all that info, so we'll see if they do that anymore.
So you could always go down that line, though, and I think it probably made sense. With the best coaches, we're getting paid the most. Pretty clear. If you were to look at the highest paid players in college football, I guarantee you there's wacko names at there. You're like, saying that guy is making that much money? Because, it's no longer – you can justify it if you're paying Nick Saban or Dabo at his prime or Urban in his prime, whatever, how much you have to pay those guys to be superstars. There are random donors now that are paying a quarterback $3.5 million who stinks and isn't living up to it, and now that donor really is feeling burned. But you can pay a guy the wrong price to go play at Vanderbilt's a bad example because they're good this year, but Auburn is a great example right now. You can pay the wrong quarterback as much money as you want to go play at Auburn. You couldn't pay the wrong coach so much money. It didn't make sense to pay but the system was almost self-correcting because there was a finite number of coaches. Because there's only as many coaches as there are teams. There are so many players now. You can throw your money away however you want to. It honestly, in years past, it was probably harder to throw your money away as a college booster than it is today. There are just so many more names to throw bad money at and make huge mistakes on.
Yeah, but they pay Jimbo a lot of money.
Sure, it has happened.
Yeah,
You're right. There is always the name out there.
There's a bunch of bozos that are at the top of that pay scale that don't deserve it.
But at least you're only paying one guy too much. Not 12 people or 15 people on the roster.
Yeah, that's why these GMs that they're all hiring matter because you got to pick the right player to. And that's why I get back to find him as a freshman when nobody wants him, develop him into something and overpay him to stay.
And keep paying him.
Yeah, is I think the best model because I think that that's what's going to happen across college football, that teams are going to pay to keep the guys they like and then cut the guys they don't. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of the people in the transfer portal are going to be like, oh, look at this Keaton Slovis. He was good at USC once. Let's give him $1 million.
Yes. Bear will have offers thrown at him. Certainly. It's just the business now.
Yeah.
I think it will be really hard to poach him out of BYU.
Yeah. BYU will invest in their guy because they know him.
Yep.
And actually, this will be interesting to see. If Utah and BYU don't invest in their guys, actually BYU more than Utah, I'd say. Because I think that Utah would have loved to have kept Keanu Tanavasa.
Yes.
But we'll see. You'll see BYU. The ones that they don't pick to keep will be interesting. Mm-hmm. But at Utah, they look to invest in Smith Snowden and keep him from being poached, and Keanu Tanavasa left.
Dalton Kincaid, yeah.
Maybe they invested in Smith Snowden and didn't have the dough left to pay Tanavasa.
Yeah, you paid 2 tackles. You paid a quarterback to transfer up. Yeah, you had so much to retain.
This is so stupid. I hate this sport.
Yeah.
Hate this sport so much.
Hey, don't worry. College basketball starts tonight.
I hate that sport,
too.
That's even worse.
Oh, it's way worse.
It's even worse.
Yeah,
I hate that sport, too.
There's fewer players. There's more teams. Fewer players on your team, and one guy can really change everything.
Can you imagine, let's say Utah is just really bad. Imagine paying any of those guys. You're looking at where are we pouring our money? Rough.
But they're there, so you have to pay them.
We had a really nice thing once.
We kind of did.
It was great.
We kind of did.
All right, stay tuned. We'll finish the show coming up next. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
It's another battle for the Aggies, and the KSL Sports Zone has it covered. The Aggies return home to Logan for a battle against the Nevada Wolfpack. Your home for all the play-by-play coverage of Aggie football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Let's lock in.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarves. Oh my. From the islands to the basketball courts.
Jake and Ben, this segment is brought to you by Peach Doors and Windows. Amazing home transformations begin with Peach, where 5-star reviews are the norm. Call them today for your free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255, Peach Doors and Windows. That was interesting going down memory lane with Sebastian Telfair there, who you told me was photographed with Diddy behind bars yesterday.
They were hanging out. Yeah, they were in the yard having a chat.
You can only hang out with people that are available, I suppose.
Funny for Sebastian Telfair, you just read off his lengthy rap sheet. The thing that he finally got caught up in is insurance fraud. He was part of the Keon Dooling, remember the Jazz assistant coach, who they found a doctor basically to pass off notes that they had gone in for treatment due to lingering injuries from their NBA career, that they either didn't have the injury or didn't get the treatment. And the doctor got paid and then kicked back some of the money.
Right.
So insurance companies will come for you. Apparently.
You mean they don't like being defrauded?
More than the guns, more than the drugs, more than everything, the insurance companies will make sure you go to prison.
I was surprised to find out that Sebastian and Diddy had a previous relationship, or at least Sebastian was there for an incident that happened outside of Diddy's restaurant.
Yeah, and to bring this up, you were talking about the Chauncey Billups story to start the show. And Pablo Torre's latest last week was like the main character.
Did you listen to that whole thing?
I haven't yet.
Oh, it's really good. You should.
The reoccurring character who keeps popping up in these things, just like keeps showing up the way Sebastian Telfair and P. Diddy, or Sebastian Telfair got his chain snatched outside of a P. Diddy restaurant.
At the same night as a different rapper was shot.
Got shot. Now, I have told you that celebrities getting jewelry stolen is insurance fraud a lot of the time. They insure their piece of jewelry. Some random person comes and takes it off their neck and disappears with it. How are you ever going to find out if they actually stole it, or if it's actually gone, or if they got it back 6 weeks later, as long as they don't wear it outside again? How do you know they didn't get that money back or get the chain back and also get their insurance money for insuring their jewelry? But the main character that keeps showing up in this Chauncey Billups investigation, Damon Jones investigation, is Ty Lue from the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah, he's a tie to it.
He just keeps kind of being around. So we'll be curious who gets wrapped up in this. We've not seen the end of it.
No, I don't think we have. I definitely don't think we have. Yeah, Ty Lue was definitely at one of those games, and he and Damon Jones and Chauncey Billups are all self-described as best friends.
Yeah. And then the question is, he... It's a big wad of gum. The Steelers guy is chewing. Anyways, can't get distracted by what I'm watching on TV. Was he in on it, or was he a sucker, or is he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time?
You know who's having a bad year so far is the Clippers PR guy. Whoever that is.
Look, I know when I'm being annoying. I know when I have to ask for things that are annoying. You know, you remember the Elijah Millsap, Dennis Lindsey accusations. I know when I have to text or call Jazz PR and say, hey, do you guys have a statement on whether or not Dennis Lindsey said something racist about Elijah Millsap? I know they don't want to answer that question.
No.
That's not a good day at work for them. Our guy, John Reinhart, dealing with Trey Burke the day before.
Hey, I was the one who alerted him to that.
Not a great start to his week. That's not fun to have to answer those questions. The Clippers going right from, what's the aspiration, the fake tree planting company.
Kawhi getting paid illegally.
Right into, is our head coach involved in this gambling scheme? Is not a fun.
That's not great.
3 months that the Clippers been facing.
Not great, Bob.
Not even that long.
Speaking of our buddy Derek Garduno, he woke up today and he's like, you know what I'm not dealing with? That.
At all.
Yeah. Don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. I just have to worry about that Bozo Benz text. It's not that big a deal.
I don't text very often.
I do. I texted Jonathan because I was, getting up and that Trey Burke thing hit Twitter. I just texted him. I was like, well, I bet you're having an interesting morning. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, oh, you should probably see what's trending. You're not going to love it.
You're not going to love it.
Speaking of my friend Jonathan Reinhardt, he and Al Jefferson handled his domestic disturbance, which was not Al's fault. It was his girlfriend who was creating the disturbance. And in fact, shout out to Al. Apparently, according to all reports, his behavior during that whole thing was pretty top-notch, considering what he was dealing with. But they dealt with that so well. And I give Al most of the credit right there. He came in, he made a statement.
Yep.
He said, this is complicated and personal, and this is the time I'm going to talk about it. I'll be honest with you, and then we're going to leave it behind. And I thought it was a masterclass on how to handle a kind of a sensitive topic.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out to Al Jefferson.
Hope he's doing all right.
That was a weird story.
Yeah, it was.
And that happened, the Trey Burke thing happened the day of Jazz Media Day, and the Al Jefferson thing happened the night before.
Yeah.
Talk about terrible timing.
Really bad.
Brutal.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned. Hans and Scotty G
Thanks,
are coming
Christian.
up next. Ben and I will be back tomorrow. Jake and Ben, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.